the metallic snap of a can opening, the familiar hiss of preserved air escaping. For millions of people, that sound represents convenience, comfort, and quick nutrition. But what if I told you that some of these trusted pantry staples are silently sabotaging your health? Today, we're exposing the hidden dangers lurking in your kitchen cabinets. From mercury accumulation to botulism risks, from chemical can linings to sodium overloads that could trigger heart complications. Some canned foods pose genuine health risks. But don't worry. We'll also reveal the 2 canned foods that are actually safe and beneficial for your health. Let's start with something that might shock you. That innocent-looking can in your pantry could be harboring serious health risks you never considered. Number 1. Vienna sausages. Picture this. You're reaching for a quick lunch, and that familiar can of Vienna sausages seems perfect. The metallic smell hits you before you even open it completely. Those pale, soft links swimming in jellied brine might trigger childhood memories. But for anyone concerned about their health, they represent a genuine hazard. Here's what the manufacturers don't emphasize on their colorful labels. A single small can typically contains between 700 to over 1,000 milligrams of sodium. To put this in perspective, the American Heart Association recommends limiting sodium to 2,000 or 300 milligrams daily for most adults, with an ideal limit of 1,500 milligrams for those with high blood pressure. 1 can of Vienna sausages delivers a substantial portion of that limit in just a few bites. The irony lies in the reduced sodium versions. Federal regulations only require these products to contain 25% less sodium than the original formula. This means a reduced sodium Vienna sausage can still pack over 700 milligrams of salt. That's not meaningful reduction for someone watching their sodium intake. But here's where it gets concerning. Many manufacturers replace some removed sodium with potassium chloride, sometimes listed as potassium salt. For healthy individuals, this substitution appears harmless. However, for anyone with kidney disease or those taking medications like ACE inhibitors or potassium-sparing diuretics, this potassium substitute can potentially trigger hyperkalemia, elevated potassium levels that can affect heart rhythm. The National Kidney Foundation advises caution with potassium chloride for individuals with chronic kidney disease. Yet these products often lack clear warnings about this potential risk. Beyond sodium concerns, Vienna sausages contain nitrites as preserving agents. While these chemicals prevent botulism and maintain the product's pink color, they can form nitrosamines in the body. The World Health Organization has classified processed meats containing these compounds as Group 1 carcinogens, meaning there's sufficient evidence they cause cancer in humans. Number 2. Canned tuna. The satisfying pop of a tuna can lid, followed by that distinctive oceanic aroma, seems to promise healthy protein and omega-3 fatty acids. But beneath that familiar smell lies a more complex reality regarding mercury exposure. Mercury contamination represents a documented concern. Albacore white tuna consistently contains higher mercury levels than light tuna varieties, typically skipjack. The FDA acknowledges this difference, with albacore averaging about 0.32 parts per million of mercury, compared to light tuna's 0.12 parts per million. This isn't merely a nutritional footnote. Mercury accumulates in brain and kidney tissues over time. The EPA and FDA recommend limiting albacore tuna consumption, particularly for pregnant women, nursing mothers, and young children. For older adults, especially those with compromised kidney function, mercury's cumulative effects can contribute to neurological symptoms, including memory problems, tremors, and cognitive difficulties. Temperature abuse during handling can create another risk. histamine formation. When tuna isn't properly refrigerated after catch, bacteria convert the fish's natural histidine into histamine. This compound survives cooking and canning processes. Consuming histamine-contaminated fish can cause scombroid poisoning, with symptoms including flushing, rapid heartbeat, and difficulty breathing that can mimic allergic reactions. The chemical concerns extend to packaging. Many canned tuna products historically used BPA-containing can linings. While many manufacturers have moved toward BPA-free alternatives, questions remain about the safety of replacement chemicals like BPS and BPF, which may have similar endocrine-disrupting properties. Number 3. Canned soup. Steam rising from a bowl of canned soup represents comfort and convenience in American culture. That familiar aroma of chicken noodle or tomato soup can transport us to simpler times. But this nostalgic comfort comes with documented health concerns, particularly regarding sodium content. Sodium levels in canned soups are consistently high. A typical serving of condensed tomato soup contains approximately 480 milligrams of sodium, but many people consume larger portions. Chicken noodle and beef varieties often contain 600 to 900 milligrams per serving. When combined with crackers, bread, or other meal components, a soup-based meal can easily exceed recommended daily sodium limits. The processing requirements for low-acid foods like chicken-based soups create safety considerations. These products require precise retort processing, specific combinations of time, temperature, and pressure to eliminate Clostridium botulinum spores. When processing parameters aren't met exactly, these deadly spores can survive and multiply in the sealed environment. Manufacturers increasingly use potassium chloride in reduced sodium formulations. While this reduces sodium content, it creates potential risks for individuals with kidney disease or those taking certain medications where excess potassium can be dangerous. Can linings present additional concerns? For decades, soup cans used BPA-based epoxy linings to prevent corrosion. While regulatory agencies maintain current exposure levels are safe, ongoing research continues to examine potential health effects of these chemical exposures. Number 4. Canned chili. The hearty aroma of canned chili promises a satisfying, protein-rich meal in minutes. But this convenience food occupies one of the more challenging categories in food safety: low-acid canned foods that require extreme processing to remain safe. Chili's low acidity level demands retort processing at temperatures between 240 to 250 degrees Fahrenheit under pressure. This extreme heat treatment is necessary to destroy Clostridium botulinum spores. Even small deviations from processing protocols can potentially allow these spores to survive and multiply, producing toxin without any detectable warning signs. Historical foodborne illness outbreaks have been linked to improperly processed, low-acid canned foods, demonstrating the importance of precise manufacturing controls. The CDC maintains detailed records of botulism cases, many linked to commercially processed foods where temperature or time requirements weren't met exactly. Sodium content in canned chili typically ranges from 800 to over 1,200 milligrams per cup, representing a significant portion of daily sodium allowances. This becomes particularly concerning when people consume entire cans, which is common practice. Phosphate additives used to maintain texture in processed meats deliver highly absorbable phosphorus. Nephrologists often recommend that older adults, particularly those with kidney disease, limit phosphate intake to protect kidney function and bone health. Number 5. Canned fruit. The glossy appearance of canned peaches or pears floating in crystal-clear syrup evokes images of wholesome fruit consumption. But this presentation masks significant sugar content that can affect blood glucose levels and overall health. Heavy syrup formulations contain substantial added sugars, often 15 to 20 grams per half-cup serving. Light syrup versions reduce this somewhat, but still deliver meaningful sugar loads. The USDA defines syrup concentrations by sugar content, not health considerations. Research published in medical journals has consistently linked high added sugar consumption with increased cardiovascular disease risk. The American Heart Association recommends limiting added sugars to no more than 6 teaspoons daily for women and 9 teaspoons for men. Canned fruit in syrup can contribute significantly to these totals. Heavy metal contamination has been detected in some canned fruit products through routine food safety testing. Lead and cadmium can accumulate in body tissues over time, potentially causing health problems, particularly in vulnerable populations. Artificial coloring in some canned fruit products, particularly maraschino cherries, has faced regulatory scrutiny. Some synthetic dyes have been banned or restricted based on animal studies suggesting potential health risks. Number 6. Canned spinach. The dark green mass that emerges from a can of spinach bears little resemblance to fresh, vibrant leaves. That processed appearance reflects not just texture changes, but concentrated risks that accumulate over time. Spinach naturally absorbs cadmium from soil more efficiently than many vegetables. This heavy metal doesn't dissipate during cooking or processing. Cadmium accumulates in kidney and bone tissues with an extremely long biological half-life, measured in decades rather than days or weeks. The World Health Organization and various food safety authorities have established intake limits for cadmium to protect kidney function. Regular consumption of high cadmium foods can contribute to exceeding these protective thresholds over time. Sodium content in canned spinach typically exceeds 400 to 700 milligrams per cup, depending on preparation. Even no salt-added versions contain natural sodium from processing. Some reduced sodium formulations substitute potassium chloride, which can be problematic for individuals with kidney disease. Oxalate content remains high in processed spinach. These naturally occurring compounds can contribute to kidney stone formation in susceptible individuals. Medical professionals typically classify spinach as a high oxalate food requiring moderation for people with histories of kidney stones. Number 7. Canned pasta. The nostalgic aroma of canned pasta, that sweet tomatoey smell mixed with processed ingredients, might evoke childhood memories, but nutritionally, it represents ultra-processed food with multiple additives and preservatives. Research consistently links higher ultra-processed food consumption with increased rates of chronic diseases. Large-scale studies have found correlations between ultra-processed food intake and higher risks of cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and overall mortality. Canned pasta products typically contain extensive ingredient lists of stabilizers, preservatives, and artificial flavors. Sodium levels in canned pasta products typically range from 600 to over 1,000 milligrams per serving. These levels represent substantial portions of daily sodium recommendations and become concerning when combined with other processed foods throughout the day. Sugar content often surprises consumers. Manufacturers add corn syrup and sugar to balance acidity and enhance flavor appeal. This added sugar contributes to daily sugar intake and can affect blood glucose levels. Acidic tomato sauce can accelerate leaching of chemicals from can linings. BPA and related compounds may migrate into food products at higher rates, when in contact with acidic foods compared to neutral pH products. Next, BPA and chemical concerns. Perhaps one of the most significant concerns about canned foods involves the chemical linings used to protect metal containers from corrosion. For decades, the food industry relied heavily on bisphenol A, or BPA, as a key component in these protective coatings. BPA functions as an endocrine disruptor, potentially interfering with hormonal systems in the human body. Numerous studies have examined BPA's effects, with research suggesting potential links to cardiovascular problems, diabetes, and reproductive issues. The chemical structure of BPA allows it to mimic estrogen, potentially disrupting normal hormonal function. Regulatory responses to BPA concerns have varied significantly between regions. European food safety authorities have expressed greater caution about BPA exposure levels, while U.S. regulatory agencies maintain that current exposure levels from food packaging don't pose significant health risks. This regulatory disagreement creates uncertainty for consumers trying to make informed decisions. The industry's response has been developing BPA-free alternatives, often featuring related chemicals like BPS or bisphenol S and BPF or bisphenol F. However, emerging research suggests these alternatives may have similar properties to BPA without the benefit of extensive long-term safety studies. Heat and acidity can increase chemical migration from can linings into food. Storing canned goods in hot environments or consuming acidic canned foods may increase exposure to these chemicals. Additionally, storing opened canned foods in their original containers rather than transferring to glass containers can continue potential exposure during refrigerated storage. But wait, before you swear off canned foods entirely, there's hope on your pantry shelves. Not every canned product poses these risks. In fact, some canned foods have been engineered by nature and science to be both safe and nutritious. The key lies in understanding which ones actually work in your favor. After exposing all these dangerous options, you deserve to know about the canned foods that can genuinely support your health goals. These two exceptions might surprise you, especially when you learn how they're processed and why they're different from everything we've discussed so far. Number 1. Canned beans. Amidst concerns about canned food safety, beans represent a notable exception, a shelf-stable product that can support rather than undermine health goals when properly selected and prepared. Beans undergo appropriate retort processing as low-acid foods, reaching temperatures sufficient to eliminate safety concerns when manufacturing protocols are followed correctly. This processing creates commercially sterile products with minimal food safety risks when cans remain intact and undamaged. The primary concern with canned beans, sodium content, has a straightforward solution. Research demonstrates that draining and rinsing canned beans under running water for 30 seconds removes approximately 35 to 50% of added sodium. This simple step transforms a high-sodium product into a more heart-healthy option. Nutritionally, beans provide exceptional value. A half-cup serving delivers 6 to 8 grams of protein, 6 to 9 grams of fiber, plus significant amounts of folate, iron, and potassium. These nutrients are often underconsumed by older adults, making beans a valuable dietary addition. Many major manufacturers have transitioned away from BPA-containing can linings in response to consumer concerns. When stored properly in cool, dry conditions, chemical exposure risks from bean cans remain minimal compared to other canned products. Number 2. Canned tomatoes. Canned tomatoes represent one of the safest and most nutritionally beneficial canned food categories. The sharp hiss when opening a can indicates proper processing and sealing that ensures both safety and quality. The natural acidity of tomatoes creates an environment hostile to dangerous bacteria like Clostridium botulinum. With pH levels typically below 4.6, properly processed canned tomatoes eliminate the botulism risks associated with low-acid canned foods. This inherent safety advantage makes tomatoes among the most reliable canned products available. Interestingly, processing can enhance certain aspects of tomato nutrition. Heat treatment breaks down cell walls, making lycopene, the antioxidant responsible for tomatoes' red color, more bioavailable than in fresh tomatoes. Research shows that processed tomato products can deliver significantly more absorbable lycopene than fresh tomatoes. Sodium control remains straightforward with tomatoes. No salt-added varieties contain minimal sodium, allowing consumers to control seasoning according to their dietary needs. Clear labeling regulations help consumers identify truly low-sodium options. The acidic nature of tomatoes prompted early adoption of improved can lining technologies, as acid could accelerate leaching from traditional coatings. Many tomato products now feature liner technologies designed to minimize chemical migration concerns. Making informed choices about canned foods requires understanding both the risks and benefits of different products. While some canned foods pose legitimate health concerns through high sodium content, chemical exposure, or processing risks, others like beans and tomatoes can support healthy eating patterns when chosen thoughtfully. The key lies in reading nutrition labels carefully, understanding processing methods, and recognizing which products align with your health goals. Knowledge empowers better decisions, allowing you to maintain the convenience of shelf-stable foods while minimizing potential health risks. If this video was helpful, kindly type yes in the comments. That motivates us to produce more content like this. Please hit the like button, share this information with friends and family who need to know these facts, and subscribe for more evidence-based health content. Thank you for taking the time to learn about making smarter food choices for your health.